Wishing you all a very good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Today's world is evolving constantly, and with that rapid change, we should change ourselves too. Rather than possessing a single qualification, we are now having the ability to explore more. We, as the Chartered Accountants Student Society, together with our own institute, the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Sri Lanka, is bringing you an awareness session regarding the benefits of all ICAEW dual membership qualification. Tonight, we have the best person to explain all this information and answer all our doubts. He is a senior international business development manager for South Asia, was a former international account manager South Asia at AAT UK 2017-2019, and a former international account manager Middle East at AAT UK 2016-2017. This is a kind reminder for all our viewers. Please do send us the questions you have through the question and answer slot. This is our platform, so let us take the best out of it. So without any further delay, let me warmly welcome Mr. Daniel Westley. Sir, are you there?
Yes, hello, sorry.
Hello,
Some
sir.
issues coming off mute there. Hello, thank you so much for the introduction. It's an absolute pleasure to be speaking to you all this evening, as it is for you. Afternoon here for me, so I'm based here in the UK, just outside of London, but it's a pleasure to be connected with you all. I'm being joined today by Kamidu Ravindra, who is a member of CA Sri Lanka and ICAEW, who came through one of our schemes that has been available for students in and members in Sri Lanka. So Kamidu will also be joining me to give his perspective of ICAEW to you all. So I was going to introduce myself, but since that's already been done so brilliantly, I won't spend too much time on that. But yeah, so my name is Dan Westley. I've been with ICAEW for just over 2 years now, in fact. Obviously, much of those 2 years has been in lockdown. So it's been quite a strange career at ICAEW so far from that perspective. But much of my job is to engage with students, with members, with employers and professional bodies across the South Asia region to promote ICAEW's activities and to support students where we have students working towards becoming a member of ICAEW. So I just wanted to double check. You can see my screen, I assume, because I'm sharing that now. So would someone be able to just confirm that for me?
Yes, sir, it's visible.
Excellent. And I'm just going to move through the slides. So if it doesn't change, then let me know. But in terms of what we're going to be talking about today, so I'm going to give you an introduction to ICAEW, kind of a bit of background about the Institute of Chartered Accountants of England and Wales. I should hope that perhaps you've heard of ICAEW, but just to give you a bit of background of kind of who we are, we'll kick things off. We're also going to talk about benefits of ICAEW membership and why people tend to become an ICAEW member with us across the globe. And then I'm going to dig into the reason that we're here today is the joint student and membership scheme specifically. So this is a new scheme, or fairly new scheme, that was launched last year in collaboration with CA Sri Lanka that we're extremely excited about in terms of an opportunity that it can offer to students in Sri Lanka to join ICAEW. So we'll talk to you about that route into dual membership and obviously talk to you a little bit about the exams that are required and the costs attached to that as well, because I know that will be important for you to consider. And as I've mentioned earlier, Kamidu Ravindra will also be joining us to give his perspective as an ICAEW and CA Sri Lanka member. And there'll be some opportunities at the end to ask some questions. So please do use the chat box. I can see there's a couple of questions on there already, which is good. So if you don't mind, I'll probably come to them if they're not answered throughout this session. I'll come to them towards the end. So in terms of who are ICAEW, so the Institute of Chartered Accountants of England and Wales was founded in 1880. So it is the oldest professional accountancy body in the world. We're a leader of within the accountancy, finance and business profession. And some of the founders of the big four accountancy firms, some firms that I'm sure many of you are training at today, such as KPMG, PwC, the founders of those firms were early ICAEW presidents. So really kind of paving the way for chartered accountancy from an ICAEW perspective. And ICAEW has been a big part of driving what a chartered accountant needs to do, how they need to work, and the skills that are required from a chartered accountant to ensure that the profession strives. So we're headquartered in London. So you'll see a picture of our headquarters there on the right-hand side, a building that I've only just started to visit again after being in lockdown for so long, but a very impressive building with lots and lots of history of chartered accountants and lots of history right there in the centre of London that's been there since 1880, since ICAEW was founded. So we train and we support business leaders across all sectors. I think that note is particularly important because it's important to stress that we're not just about auditors or not just about working within the profession for an accountancy firm. ICAEW members are found across a whole host of different organizations, from commercial companies to accountancy firms to charities, and all across different levels of the organization as well. So our qualification is recognized globally as a master's degree. And ultimately, ICAEW is all about providing the skills that are relevant for the workplace. So our qualification is built in such a way that you are tested on how you apply your skills when it comes to being a chartered accountant. It's not just necessarily about having a technical ability or a technical understanding. It's about the kind of skills-based focus as well. That's a big part of what ICAEW is all about. And something else that's a big part of what ICAEW stands for is a key vision and strategy of the Institute is to enable a world of strong and sustainable economies. Now, we see that a big driver for that and a big something that we can be a part of with that is by working closely and collaborating with professional bodies. So I mentioned that's a large part of my role, and one of the reasons this joint scheme has become possible for students in Sri Lanka is because of that collaboration that we have in place with the likes of CA Sri Lanka. So we also work with other professional bodies across the region and around the world. And ICAEW's goal with that is to ensure that the profession strives within every country that we're working in. So ICAEW, the title of ICAEW may be quite misleading, considering it's the Institute of Chartered Accountants for England and Wales. Actually, it is a truly global reach that ICAEW has. We have regional offices across all of those cities that you see there, and we have a global network of chartered accountants, which is actually exceeding 160,000 chartered accountants across 150 countries. So it's a true global network of chartered accountants in many, many countries. At any one time, we have around 30,000 students. So there are people working towards qualifying with the ICAEW and hopefully going into membership. And we work with around 7,000 employers who are authorized to offer training to allow students to become ICAEW members. But outside of those authorized employers, there are thousands and thousands more employers that do recognize the skills that an ICAEW member brings, and that's all across the world. So whilst they might not be training ICAEW people within the organization necessarily, they're likely to have an ICAEW member on the board or at a senior position. So they recognize the skills that an ICAEW member can bring. And that is truly a globally recognized ACA designation that the ICAEW would give you. And I've already seen a couple of questions pop up in the Q&A. A couple of people saying that they're hoping to move to the UK, which clearly very recognized in the UK. But even if you were looking at other countries to operate or to work in, ICAEW can potentially open that door for you. So I mentioned earlier that ICAEW is all about enabling a world of sustainable and strong economies. And a big part of that is to ensure that we are building a sustainable future, to ensure that there is a planet for us all to be on, to live on in the future. But also it's about increasing trust within the profession of accountancy. So being a big part of sustainability and ensuring that ICAEW are at the forefront of that so that we can be drivers of change when it comes to sustainability issues and things like climate change. ICAEW members are present on the board of all kinds of companies around the world. A recent survey showed that 83 of FTSE 100 companies have an ICAEW chartered accountant at board level. So it really goes to show the kind of level of influence that an ICAEW member has. And likewise, 100 out of 100 global leading brands employ ICAEW chartered accountants. So that would be people such as Coca-Cola, for example, where we have ICAEW members at very senior positions. So I'm going to take a risk now. I've embedded a video, which I'm going to hope plays, and I hope technology is going to allow. So this is just a really short video. So please, I'm going to turn my camera off, but okay. I don't think the audio was playing there, so I do apologize if you didn't get the audio. But I'll share that video with you because I think it's a brand new video that ICAEW have created, and I think it's particularly relevant to a lot that our members are involved in now. And I think it's a really exciting opportunity for ICAEW members to make a difference, actually, and to be involved in change when it comes to sustainability and climate change, etc. So, so yeah, I'll share that video with you so you can watch it properly with audio possibly in the future. But anyway, we'll carry on. So in terms of the history of ICAEW and CA Sri Lanka, there's a long history of collaboration going way back, actually beyond 1995. Where we have shared ideas about qualification development, syllabus reviewing to ensure that chartered accountants are learning to a similar standard, both in Sri Lanka and the UK, and different initiatives that we've gone into over the years, but kind of all coming towards the launch of the joint student and membership scheme, which was launched last year, which is why we're kind of all here today to find out more about that. So there's lots of history that's kind of led up to this point, which we're excited about. But in terms of the benefits of ICAEW and why do people tend to join ICAEW as a member? So there's 4 key areas, which are around career support and development, information services available, networking through all of the chartered accountants and all the groups that are available to ICAEW members. And I think ultimately, and perhaps most importantly for people outside of the UK, it is that global reach and the influence that ICAEW members have and can carry. So I'll dig into them one by one. So career support and development, we provide an ICAEW academy, which will allow you as an ICAEW member to continue your learning, to work on things like soft skills, so that your whole package as a professional and a chartered accountant is to the best that it could be. So we provide an academy with various kind of CPD courses and areas that will allow you to keep up to date and keep your skills up to date with what is an ever-changing profession. We also have ICAEW Jobs Portal, which is a way for people to find new opportunities if they're looking. We have helplines which can give you advice on things such as ethical issues that you're facing at work, technical issues, and in areas such as law and tax. And we also have CABA, which is the Chartered Accountants Benevolent Association, which is essentially a charity that was set up by ICAEW, which focuses on the well-being of ICAEW members. So particularly prominent in the past 18 months, 2 years, where there's been lots of additional stress through obviously lockdowns and COVID outbreaks and everything that we've had to go through. So CABA have been extremely supportive for many of our members across the world, providing all different types of advice and support. Member groups and networking is a big part of why people want to be an ICAEW member. So similar to CA Sri Lanka, ICAEW is a member and was the founding member of Chartered Accountants Worldwide. So that would help you to join a network of more than 2 million chartered accountants. So again, really kind of spreading your wings in terms of ability to network with other people from other countries and in other areas of the profession. We also have global member events, which increasingly are being delivered virtually. Obviously, we've had to be delivering them virtually over the past 18 months, but that will become more prominent as well. But also we will go back to hosting face-to-face events as well for our members, and particularly local member events we host within the countries, such as Sri Lanka. We'd be looking to host regular events as an opportunity to get ICAEW members together all in one room once they become a member with us. But we also have contact members within 54 countries. So if you were looking to relocate to another country, you would have your first port of call would be the ICAEW contact member within that country who could advise you on potential opportunities or how to network to find your first role within that particular country. So there's a whole host of support that we offer in terms of technical support as well. So we have different diplomas and certificates around areas such as data analytics, which is becoming increasingly important within the profession, and communities that you can join as well. So regardless of kind of what your interest is, you can guarantee there's another ICAEW member that has a similar interest, and you can join a community around that topic. We also have faculties which will really help you to keep your knowledge and skill set up to date. I think the faculties is an extremely important part of ICAEW for members moving forward, because regardless of what area that you're working in, whether it's audit, whether you're working in banking, insurance, investment management, there's a faculty that you could join to ensure that you're engaging with other ICAEW members in that area, but also keeping your knowledge up to date. And all of the lists and all of the products that are shared within those faculties are created and developed by ICAEW members who are experts in that field. So it really is coming from senior members of ICAEW and particularly relevant. That global reach and influence that we've said quite a lot, it would give you a global voice because ICAEW has that ability to be on having those conversations with governments within countries and professional accountancy organizations. So as I said, we've already had a couple of questions about moving to the UK. Now the UK, since we left the EU, has actually moved over to a points-based immigration system. So if you were looking to move to work in the UK, as an ICAEW member with a job offer from an approved employer, that's possibly easier than it's ever been. So this slide here, which we can share this slide deck after this session, I'm sure, for those that are particularly interested in reading up on the opportunities around that. So in terms of that route to dual membership then, so here's a bit of a roadmap for you, which will give you a bit of an idea of how you would obtain the dual membership, or particularly the ICAEW element of membership. So I'm led to believe that majority of people on this call are either at the corporate or strategic level stage of the CA Sri Lanka syllabus. But if we start from the beginning, typically people will come into business level following A levels or following a university degree, depending on what their background is, they'll come into the CA Sri Lanka syllabus. Now, once you complete the corporate level, that's when you would be eligible to sit ICAEW exams. So as I'm sure you're all aware, there are 5 exams that are required to be taken at the strategic level. Now, if you wish to go for the purely Sri Lanka route, then obviously that option is still available to you and you can continue with that route and you can take all exams that are attached to the strategic level. But if you want to take the joint route, this ICAEW dual membership route, you would replace 3 of the strategic level exams with 3 ICAEW advanced level exams. So you wouldn't be doing additional exams or any additional training. You would just be replacing the final 3 strategic level exams with ICAEW's corporate reporting, strategic business management, and the case study exam. So once you've completed corporate level and 2 of the 5 strategic level exams, which are the corporate finance and risk management and corporate taxation, once you've completed them, then gone on to complete the ICAEW 3 exams, that's when you'd be eligible to join as a dual member, assuming that you've completed the training requirements from CA Sri Lanka's side. So I'm keen to possibly come back to this slide because I'm sure there's some questions on the differences and the different routes available to people. But essentially there are 4 requirements to qualify in total. So the practical work experience, which you'll see on the top left here, which is all delivered through your agreement with the firm that you're training with under your CA Sri Lanka training contract. So ICAEW have reviewed the training that you do and we have approved that. So there's no additional training required to become an ICAEW member. That is the same for professional development in the top right-hand corner. But then in the bottom left here, that's where we have a mixture of CA Sri Lanka exams, as we mentioned in the previous slide, and the ICAEW exams. And in addition to all of this, running alongside your ICAEW exams, so simultaneously, you would be completing an ethics and professional skepticism learning program, which is done simultaneously, it's done in your own time, and we'll be talking about that in a bit more detail shortly. So I'm just going to, because I thought there could be some questions popping up on this, so I'm going to address a couple of those now. So do CA Sri Lanka students need to fully complete the curriculum and become members of CA Sri Lanka to start ICAEW journey? So no. So if we go back to that previous slide, you just need to have completed the corporate level exams with CA Sri Lanka. Then at that point, you can move on to the final level, if you like, and you can actually sit the two strategic level exams simultaneously to the ICAEW advanced level exams. I hope that answers that question. So someone's, Samira, thanks for the question, saying that there's 2 subjects pending for me at CA Sri Lanka strategic level, which are corporate finance and advanced business reporting. You wouldn't be able to gain exemptions from ICAEW's exams. You would need to take, in whatever circumstance, it's a requirement for you to take the ICAEW exams. So yeah, I hope that answers that question. Sorry, I've just seen your comments that the video is not audible. My apologies about that. But yeah, okay, so if we move on, we can come back to some more questions if anyone has any. And this will possibly help as well, because this gives you a full list of the ICAEW qualification. Now, the certificate level and the professional level, you would be exempt from. So that you don't have to sit those exams. But I thought it important to show you, and you'll probably see from the titles of those exams that most of them are very similar to the exams that you would have completed within business level and corporate level. So it is just the advanced level exams that you need to complete with the ICAEW. And again, depending on what syllabus you're sitting, I mean, I would assume some of you might have moved over to the new CA Sri Lanka syllabus, but there could be some that are on the previous syllabus. So for those that would be transitioning over, this slide may become helpful, but there's a lot of information on this slide. So usually we'll come back to this one. There's usually questions about this particular slide at the end. So I'm happy to come back to it at the end. In terms of the ethics learning program, which I mentioned, which runs alongside and you can deliver in your own time, it's hugely important to ICAEW that there is always an ethics program that's completed before anyone comes in to ICAEW as a member. Hugely important to the profession, and it truly underpins what all finance and accounting professionals do. So that's why we have students and members completing program or a similar program before they become a member. So what's required? So all students must complete the ethics learning program. There are 6 practical modules that you complete online, each with practice questions and progress tests to assess your knowledge and your understanding. There's interactive videos and articles that question you to consider a variety of ethical dilemmas. And then there's an assessment at the end, which has a pass mark of 70%. So in terms of costs for this particular pathway or this particular route, and information about the exams, in fact. So all of ICAEW's exams across all levels, and certainly at the advanced level, which you would be taking if you chose this pathway, all of the exams are computer-based, and they are delivered at exam centres in Sri Lanka, or they can be sat via remote invigilation, which means that you can sit from your own PC or your own laptop, from home or from work or anywhere that you can get a private environment to sit your exam. So very, very flexible now, now that students can sit their exams via remote invigilation. So all of the exams will test your knowledge as well as your integration of skills. So I mentioned at the beginning that ICAEW is a truly skills-based qualification. So we're not testing you on your technical understanding of the particular exam that you're sitting. It's about how you show that you've got the skills in order to practice as chartered accountant or work in business. So based on that, all of advanced level exams are open book exams, which means you'd be able to use your textbook within the exam. So again, you know, we're not testing you on technical understanding, because in theory, you've got your textbook in front of you. So so it'd be needless to assess you on that. We're not asking you to do that. It's about how you show that you've got the right skill set. So there are 2 exam windows throughout the year, July and November. So we have just had one pass, but clearly if you're interested and eligible to join this route, then you're coming up to the period of time where you would start preparing for the July exam. And we have a number of options around tuition and exam preparation, which we can touch on soon. So in terms of costs of ICAEW, so in order for us to make this, I guess, as attractive as possible to you in Sri Lanka for this initial period, there is no fee for ICAEW student registration. So usually, if students wanted to study with ICAEW, they would have to pay £180 a year. But for students who join via this route, it's free of charge. You also wouldn't have to pay CPL or exemptions. So CPL stands for credit for prior learning, commonly known as exemptions. So you wouldn't have to pay for those CPL to join at the advanced level. And those 3 exams that we've mentioned, the cost is there. So £175 for corporate reporting, £175 for strategic business management, and £267 for the case study exam. And I've transferred that into Sri Lankan rupees there for you, which comes out around 170,000 in total. So in terms of preparing for those exams, now Kamidu, who has completed these 3 advanced level exams, is going to talk to you a little bit about preparing and ensuring that you're preparing properly, and so he'll be touching on that. But there are many ICAEW partners in learning that you can enroll with via online learning, which obviously can be delivered from anywhere. So many UK-based tuition providers would be able to offer you exam preparation. But we'd particularly like to raise attention to Kaplan and BPP in this instance, because they have products that are relevant or popular, we might say, in the region, and have a price which could be a bit more attractive to you based on the product that they've got. So you can get in touch with BPP or Kaplan, or you can get in touch with me and I can introduce you to them so that they can share what those different products are and share the different levels of support that you can get. So you need to bear in mind that depending on which provider you go through, the levels of support that you get would differ depending on who they are. So once you've found a partner in learning, you would then register as a student to access all of the ICAEW support resources. So once you're registered with us as a student, you can book your exam. There's exam webinars that you can watch for each subject, which would be in addition to the support provided by the tuition provider. There's question banks, and there's past exams and mock exams, as well as marking plans, which will help you to prepare fully. And it's always really important as well to use that ICAEW registration and membership registration that you have, so that you can access the exam software and practice using that exam software, so that when it comes around to the exam day, you're ready and you understand how to use the software in place. Because it's all done on computer, that's particularly important to do. We also have ICAEW digital learning resources. So this year we introduced our learning materials purely online. So we don't distribute textbooks anymore. But because our exams are all computer based, it means that the resources that we provide for textbooks can talk to the exam software, and the transition between using them is very, very simple. And I've actually included a quote on the screen there from one of our students who at first found it initially quite daunting to go away from having a hard copy to having just a digital version, but actually the opportunities around the flexibility that gave this particular student, it was seen as a huge positive. So we see that that's the way to deliver this in the future. So it truly is an opportunity to invest in yourself, really, and to invest in a potential opportunity to grow your career and to gain experience potentially in other countries through the recognition that ICAEW can give you. And obviously that investment or that opportunity would come at a cost. So the costs are there in front of you, but these are all the costs. So we've already talked about the student registration fee, which is waived for students joining this route. The exam fees are there, and the digital learning resources as well, which is worth noting that right now those textbooks, so those digital textbooks that I've spoken about, for students in Sri Lanka at the moment, and on a limited basis, they're actually free of charge. So if you are keen to sign up, as soon as you've become a registered student with ICAEW, you can drop me a line and let me know, and I can issue you an access code to be able to access those digital resources. So essentially all you're needing to pay in order to complete this pathway would be the exam fees. And then obviously the membership fee, which we'll come to, which is after you've qualified. Obviously, if you go down the tuition provider route, which Kamidu will definitely be encouraging you to do, then you would pay for that. So Kaplan are offering a monthly subscription to their products at £110 and BPP at around £100, so quite similar in costing there. They're all extremely good. They're all approved by ICAEW. They're all the best standard of ICAEW tuition, actually. But it's all down to the individual student as to which particular provider you want to go with. So that membership fee that I've mentioned, so once you've qualified, once you've done everything with your training, once you've passed all your exams and your ethics learning program, you would pay one combined annual membership fee of £200, and that is your ongoing annual fee to be a member of both CA Sri Lanka and the ICAEW. And just to put that into context, kind of why this is such an important program for us and why right now is an extremely good time for Sri Lankan students to look at this opportunity, is that usually that membership with ICAEW alone costs £395. So that's just for ICAEW. But for this particular scheme and for you as students coming up to qualifying, you would be able to get ICAEW and CA Sri Lanka for just £200. So I hope you see the opportunities around that. So in summary, it's all about that global recognition. You wouldn't have to do any additional training or any additional exams. You'd be joining a network of 160,000 chartered accountants with affordable resources and tuition options, and then that one reduced rate membership fee, which we've talked about. So if it is something you're interested in pursuing, and if you're eligible, then in terms of next steps, you would need to confirm your eligibility with Lakmini Pereira, who's on the call today, or anyone within the CA Sri Lanka education team, or I'm sure the guys at the Student Society will be able to point you in the right direction. You'd need to complete an ICAEW registration form, which we can give you. And once you've become registered, you need to apply for your CPL, your credits for prior learning, for the certificate and the professional level exams of ICAEW. So you need to apply for those exemptions before you progress. Then we'd encourage you to find a tuition provider, access your ICAEW learning materials, then you can prepare for your exams. So I found that useful. I'm sure there's plenty of questions. I can see there's plenty of questions, which I'm going to take some time to go through. But while I'm doing that, I'm going to pass you over to Kamidu. So Kamidu is, as I mentioned earlier, is an ICAEW member as well as a member of CA Sri Lanka. So he qualified in Sri Lanka He then went on to complete his ICAEW advanced level exams. So exactly the exams that you would be taking if you chose this route. So there's no better person to talk to you about the challenges of those exams and what Kamidu did to kind of overcome those exams. There's no one better to talk about than him himself. So I'll pass you over to Kamidu now.
Thank you. Thank you. Many thanks, Daniel, for your introduction. Dear prospective chartered accountants, I hope you are staying safe and doing well. And being a chartered accountant is not a path which flows through fragrance and blossoms. It's always a path which you need to go along with your courage. But of course, with the right plan and proper execution, I'm pretty much sure that you would find your own best way to go through with this path. So before moving on to my speech, I believe you might have already done research about this pathway and the advantages of this pathway. What I would like to emphasize is this pathway opens a world of opportunities for you as a student. Once you get this ICAEW qualification, it allows you to access to untapped job market, not within the UK, but across the whole world, including subcontinents of Europe. It could be Middle East, it could be other part of Asia. You have wide access to number of job opportunities in different job markets. ICAEW is one of prestige accounting qualification. And once you have this qualification, it shows a good brand image on your personality to show how competent you are in order to resolve corporate problems. In that case, over the years and years, ICAEW has established their name and it has a well-known image throughout different countries in different jurisdictions. So this is a good qualification for you to pursue. And with the opportunity provided from the CA Sri Lanka, it allows you a journey quite easier to get this world-renowned qualification in your hand. And of course, we always like to learn along with our journey. If you have any plans to go for higher education, once you have this ICAEW qualification, you can get number of exemptions in different MBA programs, different MSc programs. For an example, at the moment, as I'm aware, there are nearly 10 to 15 degree programs which allows MBA programs, which allows you nearly 10 subjects exempted from their 15 subjects curriculum. So it's quite impressive exemption provided from these universities. And that shows the brand image and the quality of the qualification that ICAEW pursue. And of course, as this is a UK-based qualification, when you get into the UK, it allows you number of job opportunities, and ICAEW act as a regulator in some part of the accounting aspects of the whole UK. So it allows to show to your prospective employer that you are coming from a well-renowned background. As I mentioned earlier, that's why I'm telling you this is a golden opportunity to pursue and see how best you could go into this well-renowned qualification. So just to give a quick background about my path, the path which I took. So back in 2018, when I completed my chartered accountants in Sri Lanka, then in order for me to get this ICAEW qualification, I had to go through the remaining 3 subjects again. So I completed my CA Sri Lanka. After that, I had to sit for the whole 3 ICAEW subjects separately. But with this MOUA program, which CA Sri Lanka signed with ICAEW, it allows you to do these subjects simultaneously. So rather than sitting CA Sri Lanka and ICAEW separately, now you can sit at a one go for both subjects, and at the end, you can get the qualification of both entities, both institutes. So that's a really good opportunity that you could consider, and I encourage you to do more research and explore about this MOU program, because it's still in the initiation of this program, and because of that, students might they might not be quite aware about the MOU program and the advantages of this program. So what I suggest is, I encourage you to do more research about this MOU program and advantages along with this MOU program, so you can see how much value it would add to your career. So throughout my speech, I would like to bring some common misunderstanding of our students about this ICAEW qualification. Of course, I also went through that process, so I have a clear idea about what could be the common misunderstandings. If I break it down into different topics, first one, I would say the computer-based software. Sometimes we might think that computer-based software exam is a quite challenge, and it's a something which we might need to put additional effort. But the computer-based software provides number of opportunities for us to complete our exam efficiently. For an example, once we get into the actual exam day, when we have the computer-based software, we have number of additional functionalities. For an example, I remember I used copy and paste function. So for an example, from the question, I extracted some important points and directly included those points into my answers after editing it slightly. And it allows you to do mathematical calculations efficiently. And once you have a good typing speed, it allows you to write your exam efficiently. So it allows you number of opportunities. So we could consider the computer-based software as an opportunity rather than a challenge. Once you become a student, or once you enroll as a student, as Daniel rightly mentioned, you have the access to the computer-based software system of the ICAEW. When you have the access to the computer-based software, you have a question bank. In that question bank, there are hundreds of questions that you can practice before the exam, which allows you to prepare for the exam in a good shape. The second point which I wanted to highlight is there were some questions revolves this point in the chat function, the cost. I do completely appreciate that the cost could be relatively high compared to the CA Sri Lanka curriculum examination fee, student registration fee. But what I would like to highlight is the cost, of course, we incur in education. Of course, it's an investment rather than a cost. On the other hand, the relative amount from Sri Lanka rupee term could be a bit higher. But believe me, once you get this qualification, and when you go into the job market for a qualified accountant, the monthly salary from your first month salary, you can recover your entire cost, because the remuneration for the qualified accountant, ICAEW qualified accountant, is relatively high. So in that case, what I suggest is you could consider the cost as an investment. And of course, it allows you number of other benefits to your career and for your professional and personal development. And the third point which I wanted to highlight is the exam structure. So once you go into the exams are well structured, and when the exam preparation went through number of reviews. In that case, the corporate reporting, it could be strategic business management case study. It has a specific structure followed throughout the past papers. So if you analyze the past papers, you could see there are only 3 questions. Out of these 3 questions, there are 2 sub questions for each question. And when you analyze what are the hot topics, what are the areas that examiner usually would like to test from the candidates, you can see a similar pattern, because these exams are well structured and they have specific objects to achieve. The examiners has specific objectives set out. In that case, as these exams are well structured, once you go into the actual exams, you could predict the nature and the extent of the exam paper. It allows you to prepare for the exam in a really good manner. And once you go into the exam, you don't have surprises because you can easily predict about the pattern of the exam and prepare in a well shape. And it is worth noting that if you could do a quick Google search about the passing rate of these subjects, you would be amazed, because for corporate reporting, strategic business management, I believe approximately the passing rates are 80% plus. And for the case study, approximately the passing rate is 70% plus. It's a really good passing rate, which shows that if you put a decent effort, this is an exam which you can go through in a efficient manner. And the final point which I want to highlight is sometimes we have a common misunderstanding about the language. As Daniel rightly mentioned, this is a skill-based examination technique, examination assessment. In that case, the language is not a big barrier for you to go through with this exam. If you have the right level of knowledge and if you know how to apply this knowledge into the business cases, then that's the main consideration that you need to develop, and rest doesn't have a major impact on in determining your chances of the passes for these exams. So in that case, what I suggest is language is not a barrier. Try to take this challenge, and once you get into the momentum and once you get into the rhythm, you can find your own way to prepare for the exams, to go through it easily. So during the next part of my speech, now I would like to delve into more details about each specific subject so we can get more understanding about how each subject would look like. The corporate reporting subject, we have here 3 subjects in the advanced level of ICAEW. It's the corporate reporting, strategic business management, and case study. So if we take the corporate reporting, it's relatively similar to the chartered accountancy corporate level corporate reporting subjects, whereas the main focus area would be consolidation, financial statement, and the other specific IFRSs and IASs. For an example, it might cover the financial instrument, the leases, the revenue, and the other key topics like IS 38 intangibles. So these could be the main topics which would be covered from the corporate report subject. And in addition to that, there will be some audit and assurance topics which will be examining, and corporate governance related areas. And what I suggest is from your previous knowledge you gathered from the CA Sri Lanka curriculum, and along with your work experience, this corporate reporting is a subject which, if you prepare in a well shape and if you put some decent effort, this is a subject you can go through easily. From my own experience, I didn't attend to any tuition providers to complete this corporate reporting subject, because I completed my CA Sri Lanka curriculum. So I had that knowledge in my mind. What I did was I went into the computer-based software and practice as much as question I can. Then once I get into the actual exam, it helped me a lot, and I was able to easily go through with the corporate reporting subject. And the second subject would be the strategic business management. This subject is relatively similar to the management accounting subjects that we have in our CA Sri Lanka curriculum. It covers management account concepts in form of business perspective And from the corporate perspective, for an example, the capital budgeting, and of course, business capital budgeting, activity-based costing, and the marginal-based costing. It covers basic management accounting concept and the corporate aspects of the management accounting aspect. So in that case, from my previous experience, from my past experience, I would say if you prepare well and went through the question bank properly, this subject is also you can easily go through with if you put decent effort to prepare in a good shape. The final subject which I wanted to put some additional discussion point is the case study exam. In the case study exam, I initially thought this was the easiest exam in the ICAEW curriculum, and I, in that case, unfortunately, I failed it twice case study exam because I didn't took it seriously about this case study exam. The structure of the exam is it's a 4-hour exam and you need to write a report. When I analyzed the past papers, I thought the questions the examiner asked is relatively similar. In the first question, they ask to perform a ratio analysis. In the second question, they ask to perform a simple calculation on a management accounting related subject. And in the third question, they usually ask to analyze a new business proposal or to consider a business related matter. However, the examiner expects relatively standard format of answer, and your answer need to be in line with the specification identified from the examiner in the marking scheme. So in that case, it's very important in the case study exam to identify the examiner's expectation and how best to write your report in the actual exam. It's a essential skill that you need to develop, and along with the preparation, I believe, of course, you can prepare for this case study exam also in a really good shape. In my experience, I attended to a UK-based tuition provider for this exam, but for the remaining 2 exams, I didn't attend to any tuitions. In that case, what I suggest is if you could become a student, and once you downloaded the curriculum, you can do the analysis by yourself to compare the CA Sri Lanka curriculum against to ICAEW curriculum and to see the similarities. So if you could see, then from your analysis also you could see there are similarities, and then you could consider to attend to local based tuition provider rather than attending to a UK based tuition provider, because the curriculum are relatively similar. So you can take that as an additional advantage and prepare for the exams in a really good shape. The key for the exam preparation, in my view, is the practicing the exam, practicing the questions as much as you can. In order to do that, as I mentioned earlier, you have the question bank. Once you have the question bank, you can practice it from the computer software itself, and it allows you to boost your confidence in the actual exam. From my overall speech, the key point which I would like to take away from this speech would be, consider this as a golden opportunity, because this allows number of opportunities for your career, personal development, and for your professional development. This MOU has been introduced quite recently. So in that case, the awareness of our student and is relatively low. In that case, what I suggest is for you to do your own research to understand in detail about this MOUA program and see how best you can prepare for these exams, and then get the qualification of 2 renowned institutes. Of course, if you have any questions, if you have any clarifications to be taken or any doubts, please feel free to reach out. And of course, during this session, at the end of this session also, you can pop out your questions, and we'll be happy to help you out. And finally, I wish you all the best, and looking forward to see you as a member of the ICAEW and Sri Lanka. Thank you. Back to you, Daniel.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Kamidu, really. I mean, I think it's particularly relevant just purely because there's been a number of questions from people about whether this opens up doors for you to go and work in the UK. And there's no better example of showing that than Kamidu himself, who is literally doing that right now. So, you know, qualified in Sri Lanka and now working as an audit senior in EY in London. So so I think that clears some of the questions that we had in there. So hopefully you do see that it is an opportunity to open up those doors. And we're going to come to some more questions now. I think I'm going to open this slide. Hopefully you've got this slide on your screen now. My contact details are on the bottom there. So, you know, if you have any questions that you'd like to ask directly, I encourage you to, and please do reach out. I'm just going to have a look at the Q&A. So, yep, question one, hoping to move to the UK. So I hope that's been answered for you now. Question two is, if I've completed corporate level, what is the pathway to become an ICAEW member? So just in case the slides haven't answered that for you earlier on, if you've completed corporate level, that's when you can sign up to join ICAEW via this scheme. So you can sit the 2 CA Sri Lanka strategic level exams and then the 3 ICAEW advanced level exams simultaneously. And then once you've passed all of those exams, that's when you'd be qualifying as a member of both. Another question here, what are the exemptions available? I think that's been answered as well. Another question about migrating to the UK. It's great and to see that that's a popular destination. So can students continue their practical training in the UK after studying for the academic pillars in Sri Lanka? So you would need to clear that with CA Sri Lanka directly, because you would need to be ensuring that your practical work experience is done under a CA Sri Lanka registered firm. So you'd need to check that from CA Sri Lanka's side. I would imagine you would need to complete that training locally. If I am a CA past finalist, how can I get membership of ICAEW? So, not sure of the terminology used, CA past finalist. If you have passed your CA exams, and if you haven't gone into membership with CA Sri Lanka, then potentially, well, not potentially, you can join this joint scheme, because you can do the 3 ICAEW advanced level exams, and you'd be eligible to join as a dual member. Whereas if you've become a member of CA Sri Lanka, unfortunately, this route wouldn't be available to you. You'd have to go through a different alternative route, which is called the top-up route, which is slightly different. Passing rate of exam, is it hard? I mean, it should be hard, because you know, the exam should never be easy. To qualify as a chartered accountant, you need to prove that obviously you are the best of the best. So, but the passing rate, as Kamidu said, is very, very high for ICAEW, and that's because of the exam style. So, you know, we're not setting up to fail you. We're setting up to help you pass, and the nature of you know, if you've got the skills and you've got the skill set, the nature of the exam style means that if you can show that skill set, you will pass. So the preparation is absolutely key, and I think Kamidu's talked about that brilliantly within his speech, about practicing using the exam software, and people that do go through the right preparation and go through the right tuition providers or partners in learning, and put the effort and the time in, they will pass. Okay. Can strategic level students of CA Sri Lanka get registered with ICAEW? and get exemptions when the student passed the subjects in the CA curriculum. Yes, so you can sit those simultaneously. That was an anonymous question, but I think I've understood that. Yeah, so as long as you've passed the corporate level exams, and even if you've done, yeah, even if you've done 2 CA Sri Lanka strategic level exams, you could still be eligible for this program, and you would have to sit the ICAEW strategic business management, corporate reporting, and case study. I think I've answered that, I hope. If I haven't, please come back and clarify. So if this is an interesting question, if a student finishes their business and corporate level and wishes to move to the UK and study there, are they exempted from ICAEW certificate level? No, not necessarily. I mean, you'd have to check on our website. So you might be eligible for some, but to be honest, if you were, yeah, if you'd finished your corporate level exam, I'd recommend that you just, you'd be eligible to join this program anyway. So you wouldn't need to, so you would get exemptions for that certificate level. If you move to the UK, you'd get exemptions for that certificate level by default by joining this joint membership scheme, this joint student and membership scheme. So, you could complete, as long as your training is completed, the training element is completed with your firm that you're training at, you could sit your ICAEW exams anywhere in the world. In fact, we have some students on this joint scheme now who are based in Oman. We have one in London as well. So it is possible, as long as your training has been covered from a practical training perspective. How do we register? So you need to confirm your eligibility with the CA Sri Lanka education team, which I'm sure Student Society can help you out there for sure. I think Lakmini is on the call as well, so we can organise how you do that. And there's a question around the CPL fee. There is no fee for students joining via this route or this scheme. So CPL is free of charge. Is there any age barriers? No, absolutely not. I mean, on the assumption that you are above the age of 16, which I assume you are, considering you're already a student of CA Sri Lanka. So yeah, there's no minimum or maximum age from that perspective. Imran, thanks for the question. Is it possible to do 2 subjects in the November exam sitting and then case study in the following exam sitting? Do we have to do both subjects and the case study at one go? Good question. So no, you don't. You can do whatever's easiest for you. You could do all 3 at once. Obviously, that's probably not advised because it's quite a lot of exams to prepare for, and they're all on consecutive days. So there'd be a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of that exam week. So that's probably quite intense and quite a lot to prepare for. So we wouldn't recommend that. But you could sit your corporate reporting and strategic business management in one window and then go on to sit your case study if you wanted, or if you wanted to spread them all out to make sure you're fully prepared for each individual. There's no right or wrong way of doing it. So that's up to you. The case study has to be sat last, actually, to that point. So you must do the case study last. So final question, do we need to have 2 years professional experience to follow ICAEW for those 2 subjects? No, so the training is very separate to any of this. So I believe you need to be, that last question was probably one better for CA Sri Lanka directly, to be honest, because it's dependent on the practical work experience, which ICAEW has no hand in. We've approved CA Sri Lanka's training program, so there's no, ICAEW has no part of that. So I believe you need to be of a certain progress through that training agreement before you take certain exams, but I wouldn't be able to answer your question on that, unfortunately. Yeah, so, I mean, is there any other questions at all that anyone's got? Can see that there's some questions in the chat box as well, maybe. No. Oh, okay. Oh, I see. Yes. So this is clarity on the last question. So thank you for that. To sit the strategic level, there is a minimum training requirement of 2 years in order to sit. So in order to sit for ICAEW Advanced, is there? No, there isn't. You can sit your exam as long as you've completed your corporate level exams. You would be eligible to join the joint scheme. So regardless of how far into your training program you are. So I hope that answers that question. Some really good questions though there. Thank you very much. And it looks like that's the final one. So just for me, big thank you to everyone in the Student Society there at CA Sri Lanka for inviting me to talk. I hope everyone's found that useful. There's quite a lot of information, I'm sure, but I hope the key facts were clear. My email address is on the screen. I'm always happy to answer any further questions, so please do drop me a line. And Kamidu as well, I know, is happy for you to contact him. So thank you all very much. A big thank you to Kamidu as well for joining the call and for sharing his experience. I think very useful. And I look forward to hopefully meeting some of you once you join and sign up as a student and become a member, hopefully in the future. So thank you all very much.
Thank you very much, sir. That was indeed a wonderful session for me, and I hope it was for all of you as well. So due to the time constraints, we have to wrap up the session, but we hope all of you all cleared up your doubts. And if you were not informed about what ICAE is, tonight we got a perfect explanation thanks to Mr. Daniel Westley. We should not forget Mr. Kamidu Ravindra, who shared his very own experience with us too. So once again, thank you very much, Mr. Daniel and Mr. Kamidu, for being the speaker of today's session on behalf of the entire CA students population. Thank you very much, sir. I would like to make this a moment to thank the representatives from the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Sri Lanka for giving us this valuable opportunity. We cannot forget all our participants who are joining with us through Zoom as well as through FB Live. Thank you so much for joining with us today. If you are a candidate for these upcoming exams, wishing you the very best of luck. Last but not least, I would like to thank all the members from CA Student Society for making this a possibility. Please be kind enough to fill the feedback form which will pop up when you end the meeting. An investment in knowledge pays the best interest. We hope you will invest in the best way. With that, we will conclude the today's awareness session and we'll see you soon again. Signing off for the day, this is Ruqayyah Hameed from CA Student Society. Thank you. Have a wonderful weekend ahead and stay safe.